Welcome to the Year of the Movie podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies from the year of the movie 2023. We're your hosts with special guest Sean Russell.
Whoa.
Hello.
We're in the same room.
We're in the
never
same
happens.
room. Sean is visiting us, so he's actually here.
Mm-hmm.
So probably the next few videos that we release, you'll actually be in person.
Yeah, I stalked them at their live podcast taping, and then after that, they're like, "Well, let's just keep him."
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Trial basis.
If you watched the live podcast, let us know what you thought, because 23 of you watched it,
That's not.
but no comments
bad.
were left.
Yeah.
Why did we start this podcast, Sean?
Well, because it's 2023, the year of the movie, and it was a wacky year for movies.
Mm-hmm.
You had some great stuff. You had Barbie Oppenheimer, Barbenheimer, as the kids say.
Mm-hmm.
You had, stuff where it was like, okay, this is kind of like good quality stuff. Other stuff is like, huh. That's interesting. We're interested. It is the year of the movie, so that's why we're here to talk about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The highlights that we always mention: 65, 80 for Brady,
Strays.
that George Foreman movie, etc., etc., and also today's movie, Freelance.
And I know you guys have been asking for this one for a while now,
I know everyone has heard of and seen it.
so we just wanted to finally do it, because we finally did those small movies like Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah, now we're getting to the heavy hitting stuff.
Yeah.
The big ones.
Home run hits.
Out of the park. Freelance. If you like this podcast, that's nice. You could consider supporting us on Patreon and reviewing and or rating and or following us on Instagram. All those things are good.
If you support us on Patreon, we can get a third armchair. And, our guest doesn't have to sit
In the timeout
in
chair.
the timeout corner chair.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's where I belong.
This is what you get for stalking. Freelance, for the few of you that don't know, because everyone has heard of this movie.
Everyone watched it.
Yeah, it is an ex-Special Forces operative takes a job to provide security for journalists as she interviews a dictator, but when a military coup breaks out in the middle of the interview, they are forced to escape into the jungle.
Yeah.
There's a couple little things that aren't quite accurate with this synopsis, but that's what you get when you Google it. It's not in the middle of the interview, it just happens before. Anyway, what were your first impressions when you heard about this movie?
Okay, so when I heard about this movie, when we were doing our research of every single movie that came out in the year of the movie 2023,
Mm-hmm.
I saw this, and I honestly wasn't like, oh, this is going to be a great movie, but I was kind of interested in it
Mm-hmm.
because I like dumb action comedies, and it phrased itself as a dumb action comedy.
Yeah. It sure tried to be that
In the trailer
in the trailer.
that I remember watching,
Uh-huh.
then yeah, it gave off the vibe of like a dumb buddy cop style of like,
Two unlikely friends.
yeah, like the typical like one person is trained and the other person has no idea what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't remember hearing about this movie until we were like, last night, we were like, we need to watch a movie. And then we were scrolling, and there was this one,
Uh-huh.
and we said, yeah.
Yeah, because it was a bit shorter. I mean, it was an hour 40.
Yeah. So my impressions were, sure.
Uh-huh.
I vaguely remember maybe you mentioning it when we were going through our big list of movies and being like, oh, Alison Brie and John Cena, what a combo.
Uh-huh.
And then I never thought about it ever again until yesterday. So I didn't have any expectations going in.
Sean?
That's about it.
Yeah, as soon as you pulled up, this isn't brand, we're not advertising, but Hulu.
Oh.
Ever heard of it?
And
I'm sure you have if you've heard of Freelance.
we're scrolling through the movies, and Freelance appeared. I was like, well, that's a movie, and we're going to watch this.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. We'll try to make the next one different.
A different movie?
A different movie.
Oh.
It won't be a two-parter.
We're not doing Freelance again?
No.
Oh.
I don't think Freelance is going to be one we come back to.
Freelance is in our new 65.
No. It's going to be hard to beat 65.
Yeah. So we always talk about the trailer of the movies. This is
Sean, do you want to talk about the trailer?
Do I want to talk about the trailer? Well, I haven't seen it, so...
Well, that's fine.
Oh,
yeah.
all right. Yes, I can talk about the trailer.
Yeah.
There are POV shots from a soldier with narration. Do you know that feeling when you're doing exactly what you were put on Earth to do? The one where it's like everything inside you is moving in harmony with the universe? A helicopter explodes, and we see a man with a large scar on his back. As the narration finishes, me neither. But you know, one can hope, right? Mason pulls his daughter in the car. Mason, I assume, is
The
one of
man.
the characters. He's the man with the scar on his
Yeah.
back. Telling her to wave to Mommy, or else Mommy will hate him, even more than she already does. How we doing? We doing good?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
We're in the trailer now. Christian Slater visits Mason. Now, Christian Slater's an actor, but he's playing a character.
Named Sebastian
Name-
Earl.
Yeah.
Yes, as he said. As Sebastian said, he's playing a Sebastian.
Yeah.
Visits Mason with a job opportunity to protect a journalist trying to interview a dictator. Mason says no, at first, but is then offered $20,000. Claire, the journalist, gets to Paldonia, a country, and the president kisses her hand and takes an unflattering selfie with her. They drive through Paldonia, car explodes, Mason saves Claire and the president. More intense music kicks in. Claire wants to stay and break the story. Mason wants to get them out. There's lots of action shots of people with guns in the jungle, paired with funny, in quotation marks, so I don't know if that's relevant. Should I be doing some quotation marks?
You said it. This is an audio-based format,
Yeah.
so it's good to say it.
Let's pretend I did quotation marks to the visual viewers. Funny dialogue. Cut between various explosion shots, there's a full screen graphic that reads, "He's coming out of retirement." More explosions, then another graphic to... hang on, you read that part.
Oh, sorry.
My bad.
To kick ass.
Oh, kick-ass.
Yeah, that's my bad. Sorry, viewers, I'm not much of a swearer. Then more shots of Mason beating up bad guys. One last graphic, and take aim. Mason shoots a big gun in slow motion, then looks at Claire and the president, watching in awe, before saying, "What?" There's lots of gunfight cuts as the actors are introduced. Then shots of Claire and Mason getting out of showers naked and running into each other, apologizing, and the president walking out of another shower, not covering himself, and saying Mason isn't so petite after all. More gunshots and explosions than the Freelance title card.
The petite joke is because Mason's last name is Petite or Petites. I'm not sure, but it's yeah. I don't know if it really is established in the trailer that that's what the joke is.
So that's the trailer.
Yeah,
That's the trailer.
it's kind of a weird trailer, tonally. Like it definitely is trying to market itself as a action comedy, but just the editing style. Because I also didn't watch this until today. The editing style is like it doesn't quite find the right balance between action and comedy. Like it cuts everything as an action movie, and then when it does end on a punchline, it's not ending on a good punchline. Like it does like a weird slow fade in between shots of like right after the car explodes, and Claire is like, there's a coup breaking out, this is a big story, I have to break it. And then it cuts to Mason, and like the music drops out, and that's like when the punchline happens. But the punchline that they use is him saying, "You have to be alive to break a story," which isn't really a joke and more just like a fact.
Yeah, I feel like maybe I watched like a clip, like
Maybe you watched a teaser that was
I'm
more
guessing I saw a teaser. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was just like
punchier.
boom, 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 boom,
Yeah,
and I was like, John Cena, Alison Brie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the cast:
Yeah.
John Cena is Mason Petite, Alison Brie is Claire Wellington, Juan Pablo Raba is President Juan Venegas, Christian Slater is Sebastian Earl, Alice Eve is Jenny Petite, Martin
Sakis.
is Colonel Jan Kohlhurst.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple other people that are in the movie, but those are the main characters that we follow.
Yeah.
So we've got a plot breakdown because I feel like let's be honest, you don't know what this movie is because we didn't. So to just kind of go through what
But
actually
also,
happened.
if you do know the movie, get in the comments.
Yeah, feel free to interrupt at any time. So Mason hates the direction his life was going in. He's about to graduate from law school, but then he's like, I don't want to be a guy who hates his wife and just takes the kids to school. So I'm gonna join the army, and he did that. And then he got into the special forces.
Because famously, people in the army love their wives.
More so than a civilian.
Because they love their wives on behalf of America.
U.S. U.S. There's nothing more patriotic than having a wife and loving her. So this group of patriots, they go on a mission to kill President Juan Venegas in Paldonia. Mason rappels out of a helicopter, and then the helicopter is shot down right above him, and it kills most of his friends that are in the helicopter. Mason gets a back injury and has to retire. He goes back to being a lawyer, and his life becomes what he wanted to avoid, with a bad marriage and working a soul-sucking job to support his family. Sebastian Earl, who is his friend that they established earlier, who is not dead, but was in the helicopter when it went down, he walks into Mason's office with a job offer for Mason to protect this journalist who's going to interview President Venegas. The Mason doesn't want to do it because he blames Venegas for shooting down their helicopter. Sure. The journalist Claire is weirdly rude and has been recently disgraced for not vetting her sources, I think. And then so the two of them make it to Paldonia. They meet the president. They head to a location in cars, and then the car in front of theirs explodes. The president is being attacked. Mason now has to protect Claire, and Venegas goes along with them, telling them there's an attempted coup going on, led by his nephew, Jorge. Mason calls Sebastian to get him and Claire out. There's a helicopter that lands, but instead of rescuing them, mercenaries get out and try to kill them. Mason kills people. Venegas also kills someone about to kill Mason, so he, like, respects the president, kind of, for a second. The three of them make their way to a village. The people here actually like Venegas. Claire interviews the president, who says that while he's had outside influences supporting his regime, he's been attacked by corporations because he isn't willing to sell out his country. They have a lot of natural resources there, and he's feeling pressure from, like, big oil companies and the tech industry to devalue everything and just sell out so that he can stay in power. So he's a dictator with a heart of gold. Claire tries to seduce Mason, but he loves his wife. He's a patriot. Venegas asks Mason if he really thinks it's a coincidence that Mason was assigned this specific job, and Sebastian reveals that Mason's real job was supposed to be to kill Venegas, but the coup happened early. The mercenaries, led by Jan, find the group. Claire gets kidnapped. Mason and Venegas have to team up to get her back. Venegas reveals Mason's helicopter was shot down by friendly fire, not Venegas. And then the president also reveals that he controls the revolution against him. So he's playing both sides. Yeah. They get Claire back with the help of the revolution causing a distraction, and they make their way to the presidential palace and find Jorge, who Venegas convinces to work together and stand against the corporations trying to divide them. Jorge agrees, but is then immediately killed by a general. The Paldonian military go into the room where this is all happening. They've got guns drawn at the president, but then Venegas gives them a speech about fighting for their homeland, and then they turn on the mercenaries instead. There's a long gun battle, action sequence, hijinks ensue. Mason fights Yan, who reveals he's the one who shot down Mason's helicopter. Claire saves Mason by punching Yan in the throat. This is a callback to a thing that Mason told his daughter to do because a boy was being rude to her at school. And then Claire is like, it's a thing my dad taught me.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Throat punch.
Sebastian shows up with his men, and they all save the day. Venegas gives up his dictatorship to form a new government, and Claire is a respected journalist again. Yay. Mason goes home. He and his wife are in love again, and he gets a thank you message from Venegas. Mason goes to check his bank account and sees $5 million. He takes the rest of the day off of work to spend with his family.
Just the day.
That's the end of the movie.
They're gonna blow through that 5 mil in 24 hours.
It's gonna be a great day.
Yeah. Genuinely, what I was thinking was like, he was like $5 million. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But like, I was like, is he gonna quit his lawyer job and just live off of the $5 million? That's not quite enough to do that for the rest of your life. And then when he is offered,
If you invest.
yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
And you're good with it.
Mhm. You can make your money work for you. But then when he is offered $20,000 to like go into private security, I was like, that feels low. I don't know for like movie plot, like pulling him in for one last job, only $20,000. Give it at least 50. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I
Mason
guess
should have
like,
negotiated.
it was supposed to be like 3 days of work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess he technically wasn't expecting to go into battle or whatever. He was
Yeah.
It
just
was
like,
supposed to just be a real easy 3-day job.
Yeah.
yeah.
Still.
Except it secretly wasn't.
Yeah, he still has to kill a man. If Christian Slater knew that Mason was supposed to kill someone, then he's like only 20,000 anyway. It doesn't. There are so many other things that are wrong with this movie.
And that there's not a sequel already.
Yeah.
We want more freelancer,
Freelancers.
freelancist.
Ooh, freelance a lot, and they go back in time.
Ooh. And they get 2 gold shillings.
So things stuck out about this movie. The opening sequence is all POV.
Yeah, to me it feels like John Cena wasn't available. Or like,
It felt like they didn't know quite who their lead was going to be, but they were like, we gotta start this production schedule, so what can we do until then?
or they just didn't want to show young John Cena, which
Right.
is weird because it's not like he's a guy that looks old.
No, he is a specific body type, though. But
Oh yeah, and I guess like if he wasn't supposed to be ripped
Yeah.
before.
I don't know. Yeah, how ripped was this lawyer before he joined the army? Yeah, that's I mean the like not knowing who their lead was isn't true according to the production timeline as far as I could find, but that's what it felt like watching it.
Yeah, it was also just really bad because they did some camera stabilization in post, and so there were some of the POV shots, you could see it like wave and distort,
Mhm.
because they were trying to stabilize it because it was too shaky.
Yeah.
But it just looks really distorted and did not. I
No.
did not like it.
No, it didn't work for me. There's an attempt at chemistry with Alison Brie with John Cena specifically. And like I appreciate that this isn't like a shoehorned romance, but they still were like, you're expecting a shoehorned romance in this movie, so we're gonna hit the beats, but then
Yeah.
subvert it and make them just buddies, I guess.
Yeah, and that scene where she tries to seduce him and he says, "No, I can't do this." She goes, "You still love her, don't you?"
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, they had one fight 3 days ago. Like,
I don't think she even knows any of the details, does she? About the fight or whatnot?
She says, like, before that, because he drives her in the car, and she's like, oh, I see the tan line from your wedding ring.
I
so
think
they
he
can-"
might have said one thing briefly of like they were separated
That's
Yeah.
for the time being.
He had established that they were separated.
Yeah, but it was just like,
That's such a gray area. Like,
Yeah.
no follow-up questions of, like, what's that like?
his wife just needed space.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
she didn't ever believe him. Like he said, "Oh, we just take it off when we're in the service or whatever."
Yeah, and then she was like,
She's
or
like,
you're
"Nope,
divorced.
don't believe that.
Yeah.
You're a liar."
And that's what I'm into. You also don't really learn anything about Alison Brie's character besides she had a dad that taught her to punch. It's not really fully explained. So like her arc is she's introduced. John Cena meets her in person. She's rude. He's looking up clips of her online, just to like check out her career. And the first clip is her winning like a prestigious international journalist award, and then the next clip is her resigning during a press conference because she lied or like didn't.
Her sources, the sources told false stories.
Yeah.
She still claimed that they were true.
And she didn't properly vet her sources and then printed stuff anyway, and then so they were like she lied, but then even in her speech she's like, yeah, in my rush to get out a story, then I didn't do my due diligence. And then the other clip that he sees, I couldn't tell if that was before or after she fell.
Before.
Okay.
I think that's like she started with that, and it was like an MTV Cribs
Yeah.
type of.
Yeah, but he watches it while they're on the plane to Caledonia, and then afterwards, whenever people are like talking about Claire breaking the story, they say like celebrity reporter.
Yeah.
So I don't know if like she was a celebrity or she only reported on celebrities, but she's like, yeah, she's at the pool in this mansion, just like, what's up, Teen Beat? Let's talk to this guy about his life. So it's like clear that she hasn't always done hard-hitting journalism.
But she went to Oxford.
Yeah. So that's good. So she like, yeah, she has that career. She's rude to John Cena when she meets him. And then she only ever asks him questions, and there's never any like, what about you? Or like, you don't really learn anything about her as a person. Besides through her tattoos while she's trying to seduce John Cena.
Yeah. And so like with John Cena's character, you get that weird 10-minute POV introduction. And then the first time you see her is when she's getting that award.
Mm-hmm.
And you see her for like 5 seconds, and then they cut away. And then it's revealed that he's watching the clip. So it's still not even about her. It's like him doing his research.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it was just real weird. Like, we get all this introduction on him, and then she's just, I'm a journal.
Yeah. I feel like if this was a romance plot, then maybe they would have tried to establish something about her character more for them to have common ground and then fall in love or whatever.
Yeah.
But because this movie doesn't do that, then I think it just wasn't a consideration to make her a person.
And then when he meets her, he's got a notepad, and he's like, Claire Wellington? And she's on the phone, and she turns around, and she's like, oh, yeah. And then she takes the notepad and pen and gives him an autograph, and then just walks away.
Yeah.
I don't know any journalist.
End of statement.
That's not true. Any journalist who was just like, oh, yeah, this person wants my autograph.
Yeah.
Well, do you know anyone from MTV Cribs, though?
No, because I don't know if I consider them journalists.
Wow.
Oh, boy. You're going to cancel yourself right here, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Come at me, MTV. You don't have journalists.
Other things, it's got a confusing stance that we were talking about after watching this movie. We were like, how is this both anti-corporation but pro-money? Where like John Cena gets the like his $20,000 fee is clearly his motivation for doing this job. he gets the $5 million at the end, and it doesn't question, like, hey, you just got money from a dictator.
No, he's not a dictator at that point.
He's not a dictator at that point, but it's
They
still like,
redid the government.
yeah, but he still had dictator money, and you're not gonna question where that came from.
No, but he's not a dictator.
Oh, that's right.
So
Anyway, doesn't question the initial mission that he had of going to kill the leader of a different country. They fully commit that this man is a dictator, but he's like a cool dictator. But it's just like,
he gotta be a dictator to get his country through the initial steps, because he knows what's best.
Mhm.
He knows that like he can't be a dictator forever, but like
for now.
if he's not, then it's never gonna happen, and so he just needs to streamline this baby.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit pro dictator for this guy specifically. Just like,
I just think it's just pro this guy.
just this guy.
It's not pro dictator.
Yeah.
It's pro sharp dressers.
He's got like a white suit on for the majority of the
Yeah.
Like,
show.
I think it changes what the white suit is.
At the end, he's got a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, some of the descriptions that I read for reviews was like a man with a white suit and even whiter teeth. Another thing is the last time that you see Colonel Yan Kuehurst is on the steps after getting punched in the throat. This is the man that they establish is like the head of this mercenary group who has been, his clients are corporations trying to overthrow this government of this country. And the last time that you see him, he's just going like on the steps of the presidential palace, and that's it. There's no follow up of like, yeah, he was arrested or anything.
He's got a daughter. He's got to go watch her ballet afterwards.
Yeah, that's my other bullet point with this man is what a wild intro scene.
I think it'd be fun if they realized, oh, we didn't kill him. Oh, maybe we need to go back and put a little ballerina scene in there at the beginning, so that there's like, he's got a daughter. He should go home. It's fine.
Yeah, his intro is him sitting on the floor watching his daughter.
In like
I
a living
assume his
room.
daughter. Yeah,
We hope.
yeah, doing
He
ballet.
called himself Papa in reference
To the child.
to the
Yeah.
child, so
Yep. Yeah, just a little girl doing ballet in front of him, and then he gets a call, and he's like on it, or action words, and then
he's like, Papa has to go to work now.
yeah,
But then he's like,
Encore.
encore, and she starts dancing again.
yeah,
But it's really weird because the framing of it is often like when you're looking at him, he's in the background on the floor leaning against a couch looking up, and in the foreground are the little girl's legs, just the legs, like
Yeah.
dancing, like blocking the camera and like doing ballet, and it's just like, why are we looking at these little girls' legs?
it's like a weird villain shot, and like I don't like the way that it frames him looking at her.
Yeah,
And then it was so tonally different from like a quote unquote action comedy
yeah.
that when it was happening, we were like, oh, this is just from a different movie that accidentally got put in here.
We were saying that there's a different movie with John Cena just in a jungle, like a different movie, unrelated,
Yeah.
and then it cuts to John Cena in a jungle, and then it cuts right back to whatever the other movie.
Yeah,
is.
someone's project files got mixed
Yeah.
up. Oops.
It's actually is it the Continental or whatever, that ballerina? It's a Keanu Reeves, the spinoff.
Oh yes, yeah.
There's a
Mm-hmm.
but it follows like the ballerinas.
Right.
So I think in that movie, there's just a random scene with John Cena in a jungle, and you're like,
Is that Alison Brie?
If you don't expect John Cena though, can you see him, or is it just a jungle?
That's true.
Hmm.
Makes you think.
um.
There's a couple other weird shots or weird framing.
Well, I was gonna mention the weird. Is it the shootout? Yeah, there's a shootout like when like the shootout in the president's office starts to happen, the music is very I described it as 2000 like early 2000s skateboard chase scene,
Yeah.
but
Which is good music, but not for this
a
scene.
big shootout action. So like tons of people are getting shot, dying or whatever, but it's like
Yeah. It's the tone of this movie is trying so hard to be lighthearted, and it doesn't know how to do it.
I think every time someone gets shot, they should have just had Fozzie Bear just go waka waka. That way we knew.
Yeah.
When the first coup attempt thing happens, they're in like a car.
Yeah.
And John Cena's driving forward with a Jeep driving at them, and they full on collide. And then it just cuts to inside the car where someone from the other car just fully hits their windshield and just turns into like a blood paste. But it was just like
the blood in this movie is like, oh, I know exactly how they did that. Like, we worked on a horror movie recently, and it's like, I know where the tube is
Yeah.
to get the blood to come out. There's that where it's just like wet sound hits the
yeah, it was just
windshield,
like,
and we went, oh. And then there's when Jorge is dying, and then there's a couple continuity errors
Yeah.
depending on the shot where like a blood splurt.
in the wide, there's like a really big blood spurt, but then it cuts while it's still splurting to a close up, and it's not splurting.
And then it cuts out again, and then the pool of blood is even bigger.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of goofs in that room specifically, because there's also, I didn't notice while we were watching, but according to IMDb trivia, then there are a bunch of shots of guys holding guns, where the gun goes, like they shoot, but they don't pull the trigger. Like if you just look, then it's just like, poo, 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 but their hand is the same. And then you can see Alison Brie's mic in that too when she hides under the desk. Then you can see it like on her back. So
Yeah.
it happens. Is there anything else we want to talk about with this movie?
I guess so. Whenever they were in that car, the
head-on
first attack,
collision.
the head-on collision, it's like what kind of car would you say they're in? Just like a minivan?
Like
Like a Suburban.
yeah, like Explorer or something.
Yeah, something like that. And they're going up against these military jeeps, and they drive up into the military jeep, and then the military jeep just kind of crunches like a can.
Yeah.
And the Suburban's fine. And they're like, okay, well, the Suburban's probably at least bad. No, the Suburban's going to keep driving. It's going to back up and rear end another jeep,
I will say.
crunch it like a can as well.
Yeah.
I will say.
Is that how it works?
Jeeps kind of crumble,
Oh, really? Okay.
and this car was the president's vehicle.
That's true.
So you would assume it's a bit more fortified.
This is a man that does have a bulletproof suit.
Yeah.
That's like a throwaway thing at the end. He gets shot and then he's like, I'm fine. Bulletproof suit?
President's vehicles are typically
Yeah.
tanks,
Yeah.
That's fair.
basically. So-
Mhm.
But I agree that
Just the visual, though, is like,
the visual of it is very goofy.
Yeah. There's some goofy stuff like that. There's that people shooting and never hitting anything unless it's a main character.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. They're just all goofy.
the villainous group, they had the president just walking straight towards them in the middle of an open field,
Yeah.
and they like armed to the teeth with guns, and then people start running, and they're like, well, we can't shoot now.
Yeah.
Like
They're
a
like,
crumpled
we've got
crowd
morals
of
now.
Revolutionaries.
Yeah. So in the when they're trying to get Alison Brie back from the mercenaries, like they agree to do a trade where they will get the president and they will give back Alison Brie, and then John Cena is like, okay, and then the president comes from around the corner, and then the revolution that is a revolution against the president then is like running in a crowd and like overtakes them, and then the mercenaries lose sight of everyone, and then the three main characters run away, which like I know that they established that Venegas went to school with the head of the revolution and they're like friends actually, so it's not a real revolution.
Yeah.
He just uses it as like a way for people to blow off steam who don't agree with his regime. But if you're like an intro level revolutionary, you don't know that. Like, you're just running through the street and then seeing the man that you're protesting against, and you're like, I'm just gonna keep running.
They probably just didn't recognize him because it's like this, you see a celebrity in real life, you're like, is that John Mulaney? Is that who that is?
You take a picture, you send it to him, you
Message him every year.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's the day that I message him.
see if he says, yeah, that was me. Maybe they did that. Maybe someone got that
It's one
camera
of those
out.
classic situations.
Happens to everyone.
So many relatable moments in this movie. Anything else we want to talk about?
I think we're good to move on to production facts.
Great. There's not many. This movie was released October 27th, 2023, with a streaming release on November 28th, 2023. It recently started climbing the streaming charts again for some reason. It didn't make a huge splash at first, and now people are watching it, including us.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got an hour and 49-minute runtime. It's rated R. It has an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 76% audience score. It's a 22 out of 100 on Metacritic and a B- on CinemaScore.
At one point, it was 0%,
It debuted at 0%.
which, like, not a lot of films have done that.
No, but also according to IMDb trivia, this is not the first John Cena movie to
Yes.
debut at 0%. The other one was the Fred movie from
Yeah.
2010.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember Fred?
I don't.
It was like
Good.
it was a terrible, like, Nickelodeon?
Uh,
What was that?
I think he was on YouTube. It was like a
Yeah.
slightly scripted, annoying teenager with like the Beaver swoop haircut and really high pitched voice. And then I think he got a Nickelodeon show
Yeah.
and movies.
And John Cena played his dad.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Don't recommend.
Yeah, Fred was terrible.
Yeah. The audience consensus on Rotten Tomatoes calls it fun and entertaining with plenty of action. Some headline reviews that I saw in comparison said this film shouldn't quit its day job and my eyeballs may never forgive me. This is a goofy 4-star Google review that I would love to go through. I don't get why it has been panned by professional critics. Went in not expecting much, and I was positively surprised. Given the actors, I thought it was going to be probably bad action comedy, but there were not many bad things, and not much comedy either. It ended up being an average action flick with some funny moments, and few pretended to be funny that not landed all that well, but okay overall. The plot was that of an average action movie too. Nothing deep or mind-blowing, but at least there weren't any significant plot holes or mindless action for the sake of action. Only thing to blame was the awfully bad aim of every guy aside from the main characters, but well, that's action movies 1, 2, 3. Special effects were quite decent. They spent some money on them, and that's appreciated on an action film. And as for the actors, Allison does fine again in that semi-serious role she has been playing lately, and John Cena shows that while not having great acting skills, it can display quite a range of emotions in front of the camera other than its usual face, which up until now I wasn't sure it could. Would have been fun if it had gotten laid to see how it handled it, but that was probably too much to ask. Juan Pablo sometimes got a bit too histrionic for my taste, but tolerable overall. And it was nice to see Christian Slater in a movie.
So this was AI.
This is...
Like that
Yeah.
that feels like ChatGPT to me.
You think so?
Yeah. Like if it's calling John Cena
It's...
I mean, if you were translating from a different language, maybe. I don't know. But it
might-
very likely could be.
Maybe. But
Oh, there's just stuff I don't know.
that's action movies 1, 2, 3. It's one of those reviews that kind of goes against itself, where it's like, I didn't get why no one liked it. It wasn't good.
Perfect score.
Yeah.
4 stars.
4 stars.
Well, was it a successful movie?
It had a budget of $40 million at least, and at the box office worldwide, it has earned $10 million. So you tell me. It made $880,000 from about 2,000 theaters in its first day. That's so not great.
I didn't even realize this was in theaters.
Yeah.
I thought it was a streaming movie.
No, I didn't. I wondered about that too, and then I looked on its Wikipedia page, and I was like, "Wow, there's a bunch of information here. That's unfortunate." it's got a pretty straightforward production timeline. October 6th, 2021, Freelance is announced with Pierre Morel to direct and John Cena attached. January 2022, the rest of the cast is attached and or announced as attached to the project. And then January 17th, 2022, filming begins in Colombia and then wraps April 2022.
Pierre Morel is the guy who did the first Taken movie.
Yes.
None of the other ones.
Yeah.
They're like, thank you, Pierre.
We'll take it from here.
Taken got took over.
The tagline of this movie is "Retirement didn't suit him." Yep. This is writer Jacob Lentz's first feature. His previous credits include lots of late night comedy. You got to start somewhere. There's a 1-star review from The Guardian saying that the premise of this isn't bad and could almost be a satire of the genre, but isn't. And I think that's because it is directed by the guy who did the first Taken. He's also known for Peppermint, the Gunman, From Paris with Love. There's no way that this man is going to make a spoof of the action genre. Yeah. He just does the action genre. He also said that there's no CGI in this movie. He prefers doing physical effects live because he feels they always look better than fake explosions. I feel like there were a lot of iffy green screen moments in this movie watching it.
Yeah, there's tons of green screen in this movie.
Yeah. Like claiming there's no CGI, like that's fine, and
people do that all the time.
Yeah, kind of true, I guess, but yeah, there's still special effects in this movie. He also said that one of his big inspirations for this film was Romancing the Stone, which is okay. This is also, because I couldn't find many facts, then just looking at some of our personal stats, and this is the second movie we've covered where Alison Brie shows up nude, and also Christian Slater is in this. And John Cena, he was in Barbie.
Unrelated.
Yeah.
There's not 2 movies with Christian Slater and nude Alison Brie. From 2023.
What a subgenre. Yep. That's about it.
Yeah, pretty much. We're doing a lot of short episodes lately.
Listen,
I'm for it.
There's only so much that you can do with some of these movies. I don't think there's a whole lot of content when it comes to Freelance 2023, and that's okay.
No.
So our rating?
We have a rating system with 5 options, but it's out of 4. 0 out of 4 is, oh no. John
Cena specifically.
Stop. 1 is it was a movie. 2 is well made. 3 is enjoyable and kind of technically good. 4 is Oscar worthy. I gave it a 1.
Mm-hmm.
It was a movie.
Yeah.
There was nothing offensive, like I wasn't like, this needs to stop happening. It was just like, all right.
Yeah. I also gave it a 1. It is just a series of choices and not much else.
Yeah.
I think it's not quite at the level of like so bad it's good.
No.
There is stuff that's entertaining to watch through the movie that isn't supposed to be entertaining.
Yeah.
Do you have a rating you want to give it?
Well, okay. So if I was to make my own rating scale, I would give it a 1.5. Okay. I mean, but I'm living in your world. I'm your guest. I'm just gonna follow suit with the 1. Play fair ball. I don't know. Something about giving something 1 star. It's like, that hurts me a little. Only because it's like a little low. I would never give 0. So this is almost my floor. But
okay, but would you not see that by making your floor a 1, that means your 1 is just a 0 equivalent?
It's tough, isn't it? Yeah. Because you mix things that, well, there's things that deserve maybe a 1.5 that are in this 1 range, and then there are things that would probably get 0 that is like you're artificially boosted up. And so you're hurting a weak population, but you're helping an even weaker one. So 2s, 3s, 4s, all valid.
All right. So it
Thank
sounds
you.
like this movie was a 1
Yeah.
overall.
I know.
Thank you for your movie.
It's the name of our next podcast.
We just thank people for the
We
movies.
don't review them. We're just like, oh, okay. Thanks.
Thanks. All right. So we like to talk about other movies that we've watched recently, and for the past few episodes, we haven't really been able to do that because we haven't watched other movies. But
We've
I can
watched
tell you,
so many.
we've watched quite a few recently.
Say, let's pick 2.
No.
1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we have more episodes coming
We
out.
do.
So if we don't watch movies, then we have a backlog.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say the 2 of us.
Yeah.
Not Sean.
Okay, I'm out.
We watched Escape from New York.
Mm-hmm.
1981's Escape from New York with
Mhm.
Kurt Russell.
It's a good one.
It is honestly a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I was really into it.
Mm-hmm.
I said this to you, and I know it doesn't make sense, but it has the subtlety of an 80s, like a good 80s action film.
Yeah.
All of the acting was just like reserved. It
Mhm.
wasn't over the top that I feel like we get in modern day action and just TV and whatnot. Where like, and then we also were saying like, people now in movies, everybody typically is just like ridiculously like attractive or good looking.
Yeah. It's
They
hard.
don't look like normal people
Yeah.
anymore. And this film, outside of Kurt Russell and whoever that woman was, I don't know her name.
Yeah, I'm going to.
We're all just normal looking people.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like even with extras, then it's hard to have someone who just looks like a regular person.
Yeah.
What is Adrian Bardot?
Mm.
Yeah. So there's a lot of just like regular people that are in this movie
Yeah.
that, not saying anyone's not attractive in this, but it,
They just look like someone, just non-Hollywood actors.
yeah, I think that's the subtlety that you were talking about, is like it's more like, even though it's such a ridiculous premise, it's still treated in a very grounded way of like, what would this actually
It's also
be
like, in terms of editing and cinematography and shots and everything, because it's easier to do that now of having more shots
Mhm.
over like for your coverage.
Yeah.
So like there are things that happen and you just get one shot.
Mhm.
Like big, like there are action sequences that are happening and it's just one shot, where like now a big action sequence you would get 30 shots.
You cut on the punch, and
Like, you
there's
just cut
so many punches.
constantly.
Yeah.
And that's like something I love about older movies and older action movies in general. And like I know another movie we watched was by Denis Villeneuve, whatever the guy just doing and all
Mhm.
that, Blade Runner 2049. He is more of that older style with his editing and cinematography that he gives in his direction, of just like wides,
Mhm.
one shot, not doing a bunch of different shots.
Yeah.
And so like I don't know, it just to me kind of makes me feel more immersed if it isn't just changing constantly.
Yeah. I know it's for referencing a different decade, but that is the thing that we talked about in the Holdovers episode, was
Mhm.
like that's what made it feel like so specific to the time period that it was going for, was also using the editing techniques of
Yeah.
that time period and just like letting scenes breathe and just watching someone walk from one side of the screen to the other, and you just watch that entire sequence and there's no cutting.
Yeah.
There's some stuff like that with Escape from New York, or like long sequences like that where there's like the car driving down the bridge and you just see the shot of it approaching like
Yeah.
from all the way down at the other end of the bridge and like getting closer.
There's
And
there's a great shot at the end where the bad guy is running down the bridge,
Mhm.
running, and like they really far away, he comes running out of the darkness,
yeah.
and like they do a reverse angle to see what he's running to, but like they cut back and he's still just running the whole thing. It's
Yeah.
not like we're getting like close-ups of him running or whatever. It's just the one wide.
Mm-hmm.
And that's honestly like it's it's more ominous when like you see him getting closer from the darkness and
Yeah.
it's just like still coming
Yeah.
in that one wide shot.
I also think that this like it's not heavy on the special effects, but the effects that they use uh held up pretty well
Yeah.
in terms of like the digital like maps of the cities and stuff. Then it wasn't over the top, or it wasn't trying to be like this is cutting edge technology, and that makes it feel dated like immediately. And then because we this is 1981, and then we watched the trailer for Escape from LA, which was from 96,
Yes.
I think. And just looking at the trailer for that movie, it was like that feels so much more dated than the
Yeah.
81 movie.
It got like more hokey.
Yeah, because they
seemed like.
they relied more on the digital stuff of that time, which
Yeah,
like
and gimmicks and everything.
obviously that's what everyone is going to do for the rest of time now anyway, and I
Yeah.
get that, but I think like it's definitely a trend of filmmakers, and that's why people keep claiming like there's no CGI in their movies when they
Yeah.
can, of like trying to rely on practical effects as much as possible. I do think is a good move because it does hold up better over time.
Yeah. And the miniatures for this movie of Escape from New York
Yeah.
were reused for Blade Runner,
hmm
the original Blade Runner.
hmm
Yeah.
So that's fun.
Have you watched any movies?
I watched the Unfrosted Jerry Seinfeld movie.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah. How was that?
I don't know. I don't want to say too much if
Mhm.
y'all haven't seen it. You know.
I haven't.
I haven't.
Yeah.
I've heard it's not good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I hadn't heard that. I thought it worked. I thought it was.
Mhm.
I'll say one thing. Christian Slater's in that movie.
Oh, we're on it.
What a good one thing to say about that movie.
All right. Well, I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for us. Thank you for watching. Remember to follow us on Instagram, support us on Patreon, and leave questions and comments and wherever you can. And we'll respond to them on the VHS podcast that we do.
Yeah.
But for now, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Go on, get.